I guess it can. I don't know if you can hear me, but my question was, do you do the bonding part like at a sofa and then try to transfer it to the table?
Okay, so
Or
that's a very good question. So this morning, when I went to the meet with the seller, initially we were just talking, standing by the door. So you need to. So here's the thing: whenever you go through a listing presentation, you want to be in control, but without the seller feeling like you're in control. So basically, as far as the physical movement, you want to kind of follow to what they want to do. For example, let's say if you go inside the house, sometimes they may say, oh, let's sit down and talk first. Sometimes they may say, oh, let's go take a look at the house first. So whatever they want, just follow that. But
right.
But in the back of your mind, you whatever you're talking about, you're still trying to get the answer to those 3 questions. So for example, so I actually talked to the other agent this morning about that too. So for example, when I first got in, I was talking to the seller. We were just standing there by the door, and I was trying to find out answers to the 3 questions. And then after I talked for maybe, I don't know, 5 minutes, the other agent said, oh, why don't we go take a look at home? I was a little distracted by that because because I was trying to find the answer to those 3 questions. And she, but after that, after she said that, I continued talking, then she kind of know that I wasn't trying to look at the house, because, you know, the sequence is not to look at the house first. The sequence is to get the answer to those 3 questions first. But you still may look at the house first, because sometimes the seller, they want to look at the house first. I mean, you can look at the house, but while you're looking at the house, you can still continue to do what you need to do. So basically continue to talk with the seller, you know, trying to find the answer to those 3 questions, and still try to, you know, build that relationship while you're looking at the house. You know, so that's your focus. That's what your focus is going to be. And that's what the content of your conversation is going to be. So let's say, so once I chatted enough, I kind of know that in my mind, I kind of know that I got the answers to those 3 questions, which is I know what the seller's personality is. I know what's the reason the seller wants to sell. I know what price the seller wants. Then at that point, I know that I have the answer to these 3 questions. At that point, I know that, you know, I may be able to move to the next stage, which is the presentation. So when I felt that's the time to do it, then I asked the seller, hey, can we sit down at a table? So, you know, that's when I suggest to go sit down at a table.
Okay.
Yeah, because I need to, you know, lay out all the material for the presentation.
Yeah, you close at the table.
Yeah. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're trying to control the whole situation, but you're trying to, you know, still make it look like the seller is in charge, you know what I mean? But you do want to control the every stage of the process, because, you know, here's the problem some agents run into when they go through the listing presentation. If they do not understand the underlying reasoning, and if they do not understand the process, if they do not understand what they need to achieve, they're gonna try to control the conversation, but not effectively. So when you do that, you're trying to control it, and it's kind of it's not, the seller doesn't feel really good about it, because they feel like you're trying to, you know, boss people around, and at the same time you're not controlling the conversation the right way. What I mean by that is that if you're controlling the whole situation the correct way, then you should be able to get answers to the questions you want, and that they should be able to open up to you quickly, and you should be able to, you know, conduct the presentation as planned, and you should be able to get all the answers that they're so they're willing to open up to you and tell you all the answers, and you should be able to show to them how you're different and better, and they should be able to start to trust you and open up to you, and they should be able to see that you do offer something that's different and better. So when you're able to achieve all this goal, then you would most likely have a chance to that they will be willing to sign the paperwork. Let's say if the whole time you're talking with them, they're not open up to you, they feel like you're kind of bossy, and the answer you're giving to them is not what they want, then they're not going to sign with you. Here's something that's very important, which is a distinction, is that you're not trying to sell them something. You should think of yourself as a counselor, as a guidance counselor. You're giving them all the data, all the information to help them to make an educated decision. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to tell them, hey, this is how much you should sell your home for. That's put on the market for this price. No, do not do that. You're giving them enough information so that they can make a decision on their own. But obviously, different sellers have different personality. Some sellers that are less dominant, you might need to give a little bit nudge or push. Some sellers are more dominant. They will be very happy to make the decision very quickly. But still, because every time when you go to listing presentation or before the listing presentation, they're gonna try to ask you how much you think the home should be priced for. Never say that. Never say the price. Never. Because if you say the price, nothing will go right. Let's say if they have a price A in mind, you tell them price B, then the price you tell them is not what they want, then you're done. So never say the price. Doesn't matter how persistent they want to ask you about how much you think the price should be, never say the price. Okay, so you would ask, so if they insist on you giving them the price, how do you make sure to not give them the price and still make them happy? There's a couple of solutions. One solution is just to give them a range, price range. Okay, do not say, oh, I think your home should sell for 3 million. Don't do that. Let's say if in their mind they want 3.5 million, what you gonna do? Then you're done. You're not gonna get the listing, because in their mind they want to sell 3.5. You tell them to sell 3 million, then you have no more chance. You cannot even save it. So that's why you never say the price. So the solution to that is the most you can say is just give them a price range, or you can show them the pricing scale, like the pricing scale we did last time. So here's the reason you never want to say the price is because without a doubt, doesn't matter how stupid the seller is, they always have a price in mind. Doesn't matter if it's a market price or whatever. And by the way, every seller knows exactly how much their home is worth. The difference is just whether they are willing to sell it at the market price or not. Let's say if the market price is 3 million. Let's say if the price is 3 million, and if they insist on selling 3.5 million, it's not because they think their house is worth 3.5 million. They know their house is only worth 3 million. They just want to insist on selling at 3.5 million. So every seller knows exactly how much their house is worth. So you should not make the mistake of telling them how much their home is worth or how much to list their home for. Never do that. Do not say the price. You should guide them to the price so that they say the price. So basically what I'm saying is you do not want to make the decision for them. You want to give them enough information so it feels like they made the decision on their own. Okay, so we have 17 people now, so I think we have probably most people online now, so we're gonna start. So today we're gonna talk about time, how to be more efficient. I call it the time hacking machine. So make a schedule to have the day you want. So the good thing about this situation is that you can design your day. So but a lot of people, interesting enough, a lot of people do not design their day. So, you actually can have total control of your day. Okay. So before I go into that, I wanted to, go through this belief cycle, which I think is very important because, I personally, struggle with this as well. So I did a short post on TikTok. I did a 10 listing, 10 weeks update. So basically, we're in our 5th week. So for the first 3 weeks, I was able to sign 1 listing a week. For the 4th week, I was away. So, I didn't, sign a listing, and I got a little bit off track. So I was getting a little bit frustrated. So I did that update, and then yesterday I went and signed a listing. So sometimes when you're trying to achieve something during the process, sometimes when you do not get the outcome you want, sometimes you would get discouraged. So that's why the belief is so important. You want to make sure that you continue to have the belief that it's going to work out. Because let's say if something doesn't go well and you do not refocus, if you do not refocus, you're gonna lose the belief and you're gonna just give up. So that's why the belief cycle is so important. So usually, the first process you're gonna try, you're gonna believe it, right? For example, let's say the 10 listing 10 weeks challenge. You're gonna say, okay, can I get 10 listing in 10 weeks? Then you're gonna try to believe it. And then you're gonna try the new way to do it, right? The whole reason we're doing this training is that you're trying to do something a different way, right? Because they said the definition of insanity is what? It's kept trying the same way and expecting different result, right? So if you want a different outcome, then you need to try it a different way. So that's what we're trying to do it now, right? So first you try to believe it, then you try to try a new way. And then obviously initially, because you're new at it, so you're gonna fail. And when you fail, then you're gonna maybe lose hope. Then you're gonna try to quit. But at that time, your skill has already increased because you already started to practice, right? And then somebody tell you, hey, somebody show you how it's done. Then you see, oh, it's possible. Maybe I could give it a try again. So your belief increase again, and then you repeat the cycle till you succeed. So you need to continue. If you want to really make it work, you need to refocus. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You need to refocus. You need to continue to believe, and you need to continue to practice. Because if you do not refocus and you try a couple times, and if you don't get the outcome you want, then you're gonna lose belief in it. Then it's not gonna work. Then you're just gonna fail off the wagon. So here, the first thing we're gonna talk about some false belief about time. Okay, so a lot of times people try to squeeze as much as they can into every single day. If you do that, that's not gonna get you the outcome you want. For example, some people, they say, oh, today I'm going to the post office, I'm going to the dry clean, I'm going to get a lunch, I'm going to go to the grocery store, I'm gonna go to talk to the seller, I'm going to post a media post on Facebook. Do not do that. If you want the outcome you want, you need to focus on the 20% that's gonna get you the 80% outcome. So let's say if we're, for example, for our example, we're trying to get a listing, right? We're trying to get at least 1 listing signed a week, right? So if you're trying to get 1 listing signed a week, that's the outcome you want, then every day you just focus on that one thing. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is optional. So talking with the seller and meeting with the seller would be mandatory, would be non-negotiable. So your goal is not to complete everything. Your goal is to complete something that's very important, okay? Another misconception is that, oh, I need to pick up every phone call. I need to be, polite. I should not, ignore people's phone call. That's a misconception. That's a bad belief. Do not believe that. You should not pick up every phone call. Okay. So a phone call is just like an email. A phone call is just a to-do list that somebody gave it to you without your permission. So I'm not saying not to pick up the phone call forever. I'm just saying you need to focus on what's most important first. Get that finished before you pick up some not unnecessary phone calls. For example, let's say if your goal is to talk to at least one seller a day and book appointment today. If that's your goal for the day, you should not pick up any phone calls unless you achieve that goal, unless you have talked with the seller, unless you have booked a seller appointment. Then you can go back and answer the other phone calls that you missed. That's what I mean. Okay. So what you got, usually what I do is, so obviously my most important goal is to talk to the seller and then book a listing appointment. So if I haven't done that, if I got a phone call early in the morning, I'm not gonna pick it up. I'm just gonna reply a text. Can I call you later? I'm gonna put that behind. Okay. I'm gonna put that as a secondary priority. Okay. So another misconcept people have is, oh, I must work 24/7. I must work really hard to, to achieve what I want. No, you don't. Because if you work 24/7, you're gonna be burned out. It's not sustainable. I tried that before. By the way, everything I'm sharing with you right now, I have done it before. It doesn't work. So before I used to try to work 24/7, work every day, but I was putting the time, but I wasn't really working. So I was just in the office, just, checking out Facebook. I was forcing myself to work for long hours, but the long hours is not giving me the return I need because my energy is not there. My mind is not there. So it's not how much hours you work. It's are you spending the time on the right activity? For example, talk to a seller, go to listing presentation. That's the most important. It's not how long you work. It's not how many tasks you complete a day. Is that what matters is the task that you're completing, is that going to lead you to the outcome you want? So basically the 20-80 rule, right? The 80% of the outcome usually come from the 20% activity, right? So for example, in this case, if we're trying to get the listing, so the outcome is obviously is to get the listing signed. And the 20% activity that's going to get the listing signed is talk to a seller, go to listing appointment. Okay, another misconception is if I can get more done if I only had more time. That's another misconception. Okay. How much you can get done is not how much time you have. Okay, it's whether you're willing to do it or not, whether you have the energy to do it or not, whether you have the motivation to do it or not, is whether your mind and body and spirit is willing to do it or not. Is whether it's not how much time you have to do it, is if you truly want to do it or not. Okay. So another misconception about multitasking, you cannot multitask the same activity. For example, if I'm doing a course right now here, somebody actually just called me. I cannot pick up a phone at the same time, right? Because when I'm in a session, I need to talk. If I'm already talking, I cannot talk on the phone at the same time, right? So you cannot do that. But there's some other activity you can multitask. For example, sometimes I walk and listen to audiobook at the same time. Sometimes I walk, listen to audiobook, and I go look at the homes in the community. I look for old, ugly houses at the same time. So at that time, so in that situation, I'm able to do 3 activities at the same time because they don't conflict with each other, right? I can walk, I can listen to audiobook, because walking and listening is different tasks, different activities. So I can combine it together. So but by doing that, I can save a lot of time. That's a way to hack your time, right? So, and also when I'm walking, I'm looking at any old beat up houses in the neighborhood, then I either knock on the door, I can leave a car. So if I find a seller that wants to sell, either I can buy the house or I can list that house. So in that situation, I am able to multitask, but you just cannot multitask the same activity. For example, you cannot talk in the class and talk on the phone at the same time. Okay. And also, sometimes I still do this as well, but I try to correct myself. Sometimes when I wake up in the morning, I tell myself, oh, today I don't have enough time to walk. Do not do that. You want to make sure you set up a time for yourself to exercise every day. Because let's say you say, okay, I'm gonna work 10 hours a day because I gotta work 10 hours a day, so I don't have time to work out, to exercise. I can guarantee you, you will not get the best outcome. Let's say even if you just work 5 hours a day and you have 2 hours to 1 hour to exercise, the second scenario, you will actually get more outcome. You will actually get more result because you're energized, you exercise, your mind is very clear, your body is very strong. So you in that situation, you're actually going to be much more effective. You're actually going to get more done versus you think you need to work 10 hours and so you don't have time to work out or exercise. So you want to make sure always put in the exercise in every day. So this is a little time hacking method that I from my personal experience. So I'm just going to go through one by one. So this is actually this is a very good concept to have. So a lot of salespeople, they're salespeople, they're customer service, they're this and they're like a messenger, they're all this. If you're all this, there's no way your sales will increase. Like I said earlier, this topic I actually talk about we talk about it in other session. You want to make sure you want to focus on the sales activities. Everything else you want to delegate. In the beginning, let's say if you're just one agent, you want to hire a TC as soon as possible. Maybe just hire the TC case by case. Not a full-time staff, but for every deal you do, you give them the money for that deal. You want to do that because you do not want to follow each case from the beginning to end. Let's say you follow each case from beginning to end. Let's say if it takes 10 hours, okay? Let's just say hypothetically it takes 10 hours. Let's say it takes 10 days, okay? So let's say you follow it from the beginning to end. It takes you 10 days to follow each escrow. Then how many homes can you sell? Probably 3, 5 the most, because you're doing everything. You're not gonna have time to go do any more sales. Let's say if you only focus on sales, once the property open escrow become pending, then you give it to your TC or to your staff member. Then you go back out there and do more sales. How much more sale can you do, right? So instead of spending 10 days on each deal, you might only spend 3 days or 2 days on each deal. So instead of doing one deal in 10 days, now you can do 5 deals in 10 days. So that's what I mean when I say you are done at pending. So you are the salesperson. So you should focus on the sales. Have other team member to focus on other work. If you just do this one thing, it's gonna greatly improve your productivity. Another thing is you want to make sure that you're willing to do it. Like I said earlier, it's not about time. It's not about how much time you have to work. It's about whether you're willing to do it or not. So for example, last night I actually stayed up until 4 a.m. to complete this presentation. Because before this, I was kind of putting in information, some bits and pieces into the presentation. But I kind of got busy too, but I wasn't willing to complete it. So because I wasn't willing to complete it, so I didn't get it done. So I didn't finish it until last night, 4 a.m. So what I mean by that is that you can have all the time you want. You can have all the desire you want. If you mentally you're not willing to do it, you will not be productive. You have to make sure you condition yourself to be in a place where you're willing to do the work. That's very important. If you're not in a place where you're willing to do the work, you will not do the work. The only way you will be productive and to get job done, to get outcome, is that you have to be willing to do it, okay? And also you want to value your time. So I have a team member. So I gave her, I forgot what a task I gave to her. I think I gave her a link to do something. Then I asked her the second day, I said, what's the outcome? Did you do it? She said, oh, no, I didn't do it. I couldn't find something. I couldn't find this, but you only told me yesterday. So in that case, you do not value the time. You need to value your time in seconds and minutes and hours, not in days. Okay, a day is a long time. You can get a lot of stuff done in a day. So do not waste your time. you have to value your time, because time is very precious. It's people say time is money. Time is not money. Time is actually worth more than money. So you want to make sure to not waste time away. To plan it accordingly, to take each day seriously. Okay, this one we talked about before. You want to remove all distractions. It's like that phone call example, right? So we're doing this course online session right now. Somebody called me. That's a distraction. At that point, that's a distraction. So I gotta cut it off. I gotta cut off the phone. So if you do not remove this distraction, there's no way you're gonna get something done. For example, let's say, because I also do some other real estate investment. So sometimes I do make a phone call myself too. So let's say I have 200 phone calls I need to call. During those 2 or 3 hours, I'm only focused on making that 200 phone calls. Any other distraction, anything else is gonna be is a distraction to me. I'm not gonna be steered away to something else. I'm gonna focus on finish that 200 phone calls before I go do something else. That's what I mean by removing all the distractions. Because let's say if my goal is to make 200 phone calls, let's say if somebody call me and say, hey, can you come to meet with me now? If you go right now, your 200 phone call will not be done. So basically you allow the distraction to override what's most important for you. If you always allow that to happen, you will not be very productive. Let's say if I cut off everything, I finish my 200 phone calls, most likely I'm gonna get a lead. So once I get the lead, I'm gonna get that seller. I'm gonna be able to invest in something that has a really good return. So once I make that good return, I make you never know. I may make 100,000. I may make $1 million because I went through that 200 phone calls. Just because I followed through, I went through that 200 phone calls. If I do not go through those 200 phone calls, if somebody call me and say, hey, can you come meet with me right now? If I go meet with the person, I end up not making these 200 phone calls. So that whatever that profit, that money I may be making, whether it's 100,000 or $1 million, is gonna be non-existent. I'm not gonna get to make that because I didn't block out the distraction. Number two, not number two, but the next one, only do what you're good at. So this is, if you just focus on this is gonna be most productive for you. So for me, I'm good at presentation. So that's why I'm the person that's going to do presentation. For me, I'm not very good with paperwork. So that's why I have team members doing the paperwork. By doing it this way, I'm more productive because I'm doing something I like. And because I'm doing something I like, I continue doing it. So my skill continue to improve. So that's very important. You want to make sure focus on doing what you're good at. Okay. But obviously, before you can do this, you need to put people in place so that you can delegate. Well, leading the leaders, this is obvious. So if you have a team, then, if you have very strong agents, then, you can have more sales. Okay. Another way is to do it. We're talking about time hacking, right? You can buy back your time. For example, let's say all the signs or for sale signs, I didn't install them myself. So I know some agent, they install their own sign. I don't do that because we have a company, a sign company that install our signs. They charge, I don't know how much, maybe $38 or $40 to install each sign. That's money well spent. I pay $38, but I save at least 2 to 3 hours or even 4 hours of time. So essentially, I use $38, I bought 4 hours of time. What can I do in 4 hours? I can go through a listing presentation. If we get the listing contract signed, we can make much more money than $38, right? That's what I mean by buy back your time, okay? So this one we talked about earlier, multitask, different functions. So you can listen to music and exercise at the same time, but you cannot listen to 2 different music at the same time. That's what I mean. So another thing is it's also connected to the block out distraction. The right way to do is you want to get something done, then take a rest, then reward yourself and then get it done again. So for example, let's use the 200 phone calls example. So usually what I do is I would call 200 numbers. After I finish calling the 200 numbers, after I got to talk to the seller, then I have reached my goal. I got it done. I take a break and I reward myself. It could be anything. I could be watching a movie or eat some ice cream. I reward myself for getting it done. Then I take some rest. Maybe I'll call another 200 numbers today, or maybe I'll do it tomorrow. It just depending on how I feel like it. Okay. Make sure you want to get it done right away. Make sure you want to reward yourself too. Okay. So this is related. So let's use a 200 phone calls example. Do not stop until you achieve the goal. So let's say if you tell yourself, I'm going to call 200 sellers today, and I'm not going to stop until I get to talk to seller, book appointment. If that's your mindset, you're going to get the appointment. Let's say if you stop before you achieve the goal, let's say you called 50 numbers. You feel like, oh, there's no use of doing that. Nobody's going to talk to me. I never got a chance to talk to the seller. All the numbers are wrong. I'm not gonna do it anymore. Then you stop. You see the difference? You stop before you achieve the goal. If you stop before you achieve the goal, you will not achieve the goal. Okay. So it's like, you try to walk somewhere, right? If every time you walk halfway, you come back. Every time you walk halfway, you come back. You will never get there, right? The only way for you to get there is that you got to walk from the beginning to the end for you to get there, right? And another time hack is you want to make sure. Oh, I made a typo here. Sorry. You want to work on the right problems. Like I said earlier, right? Let's use the listing, the daily task as example. So every day, the problem I should work on is how to get more listing appointment, how to go to listing presentation, how to make sure the seller trusts me, believe me, and you have confidence in me and sign a contract for me. That's the right problem for me. What would be the wrong problem for me? The wrong problem for me would be go put up the signs. That's not a problem I should focus on. So that's what you need to do too. You need to make sure you are working on the right problem. That's gonna get the outcome you want. Okay. Okay, so this is so before the last session, we talked about the time hacking. Now we're going to talk about psychology hack. Okay, this is very important too. So I know this might sound a little bit. Anybody have any questions so far? Is this helpful at all? Anybody have any question? Go ahead, Edward. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Did you unmute? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Do you have an example of your schedule? You start, I think you mentioned before, you start prospecting at 8 o'clock. Is that correct?
No. My schedule. No, the 8 o'clock. That's my caller. So my schedule. My schedule.
So you start prospecting on it.
Okay, my schedule is and also another thing. Okay, you make sure you do not want to copy somebody's schedule, because everybody have different personality. So for me, my personality, I'm kind of right. I don't like too much structure. So for my schedule, on my calendar, the most important thing I look at is go to a listing appointment date. That's the only thing I care about. Everything else is secondary.
Right.
Yeah. That's my
so
schedule.
When you start calling on the phone, prospecting, you start at 8 o'clock until you go all day till you set an appointment. Is that what you do, or?
No, I used to do that, but now that's my team member doing it. So this is what I tell them. You can call anytime. You can call anytime. But if you just tell yourself you're not going to get on the phone until you call, until you book appointment, then most likely you're going to book appointment.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that, oh, you got to call at least 4 hours a day. No. I just told them, hey, you just make sure you get an appointment. Then if you get an appointment, then you're done. You know what I mean? So right. You wanna tailor the schedule according to you, but you want to make sure whatever schedule you have, that's gonna bring you the 80% outcome. So you gotta focus on the 20% in that schedule. So for me, the 20% is the listing appointment.
Right. So you're trying to set an appointment, one appointment a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's talk about the psychology hack. So for some newer agents or people that hasn't been doing listing, it might sound daunting to you. to get 10 listings in 10 weeks. But eventually you will be able to do it. It's just in the beginning, you cannot do it. So that's why you gotta take baby step. So that's why it's very important. You want to trick yourself in the beginning. In the beginning, you don't want to, think too big. You don't want to be like, oh, so if I need to get at least one listing a week, that means I gotta talk to 200 sellers a day. Don't think like that, because if you think like that, you're not gonna do it because it just sounds too much. So the way to trick yourself into doing it is, okay, I'm not gonna talk to 200 sellers. I'm just gonna get on the phone and I'm gonna just talk to 10 sellers first. But once you get on the phone, then maybe you got, okay, I'm already on the phone, so why don't I just keep calling until I get to talk to a seller? You know what I mean? So sometimes you want to trick yourself into at least take the baby step. Because let's say if something that's new to you is kind of intimidating to you, you're not familiar with it, and if you put too much pressure on yourself, you're not gonna do it, because it's like going to the gym, right? So if you think to yourself, okay, today if I go to the gym, I'm gonna do 100 setup, 100 push-up, 100 whatever. If you're gonna think like that, most likely you're not gonna go to the gym because it just sounds too much work, But instead you say, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym today. I'm going to maybe start with 10 push-up, 10 setup first. Then you're most likely gonna go because it doesn't sound too much work. It doesn't sound like too much work, right? So that's why you want to trick yourself and start with baby step. Because the most important thing is you got to get it started first, right? Okay, number 2, the psychology hack. You want to make sure you always tell yourself the right stories. This is very important. A lot of people get off track. It's because unintentionally, they're always telling themselves the wrong story. That's the thing about your mind. You have to make sure you consciously put in the right story, telling yourself the right story. If you do not consciously tell yourself the right story, I guarantee you, whatever story you're telling yourself is almost always negative. It's very important. So let me give you an example. Go ahead. Anybody have a question?
I was going to make a comment. I just said I got off track. Because in the past I used to call expireds a lot. Now there's very, very, very few.
See, that's the story.
Yeah.
That's the story you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
That's not a fact. That's just a story you're telling yourself. But instead, what happened? We're still calling expired every day. You're thinking there's not many expired. Remember, it's a story. You gotta be able to differentiate. So that's why you shouldn't tell yourself that story. What you should tell yourself is, okay, I'm gonna get a phone. I'm gonna get on the phone and call as many sellers as possible. That's all you need to tell yourself. You do not need to tell yourself that there's not many expired, because as long as you tell yourself, as soon as you tell yourself that story that there's not many expired, you're not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why it's very important.
That's what happened to me. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, let's say you say, oh, 10 listings in 10 weeks. It sounds so hard. That's a story too. Yeah. So the minute you think to yourself, 10 listings, 10 weeks, it sounds so hard. I will never be able to achieve it. This is a story you're telling yourself. Then that's going to be the reality for you. But on the other hand, you tell yourself, okay, 10 listings, 10 weeks. It sounds hard in the beginning. But if I just take the baby steps, if I just talk to at least one seller a day, as my skills increase and accumulate, eventually, possibly, maybe I'll be able to do it. That's a different story, right? So it's very, very important what story you tell yourself. That's why I bring this up. This is one of this. If you don't get anything today, if you just remember this one thing, this is gonna be a game changer. So that's the reason every morning I do the meditation, right? The master, meditate, affirm, see it, take note, exercise, refocus, right? What I'm doing when I'm doing the assertion and the see it, visualize, because that's what I'm telling myself the story. I'm telling myself the right story. It's very important because the human mind is very, how do you say? It's very random. If you do not control it, it's going to control you, and it's not going to be pretty. So you want to make, that's what I do. That's why I share with you what I do. Another good way to do it, to make sure you tell yourself the right story, is to start a social network post or the short video. For example, TikTok, Facebook, not Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. So I started doing TikTok, and it's actually helping myself too. I'm trying to help other agents and other investors, but it's actually end up helping myself, because as I'm telling the story on TikTok, it's also reminding myself to tell myself the right story. What were you saying, Edward?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's self-reaffirming.
Yeah, exactly. Because let's face it, I'll give you my example, the 10 listing 10 weeks challenge. The first 3 weeks I was doing fine. I was getting 1 listing signed each week. The 4th week I was in Cancun. I was doing training. I was distracted, so I didn't get a listing. So I'm getting worried. So what if I don't get a listing next week? So I'm starting to tell myself the wrong story. And I went on TikTok. I did a short video called a 10 listing in 10 weeks update. So I talked through my internal psychology in the video. That helped me to refocus. That helped me to stay on track. That helped me to refocus. And before you know it, in the afternoon, the seller called me. I went to the seller. I signed a listing contract. But when the seller called me, he didn't tell me he's going to ask me to go there to sign a contract. Let's say at that time, if I'm telling myself the wrong story, if I tell myself, what's the use? I'm not going to be able to get 10 listings in 10 weeks. I already missed the listing last week. Most likely I'm going to miss a listing this week too. What's the point? I don't even know why that guy called me. Maybe I don't even know if he want to sign the listing. So I'm not going to go. So if I don't go, I'm not going to get a listing. Because once I got off track, I'm starting telling myself all the wrong stories. If you do not get anything else, I'm telling you, if you do not get anything else today, if you just remember this one thing, tell yourself the right story, this is going to be worth your money 1,000 times. Every morning, you want to make sure tell yourself the right story. Either morning, I got off track. Either morning or afternoon. Every day, you need to make sure to tell yourself the right story. You can do it the night before or in the morning. You want to make sure you do that, because that's the reason. Believe it or not, most people, not just realtors, I would say maybe at least 70 to 90% of the people are off track every single day. They're not doing what they're supposed to do to make the legacy they can make in their life. It's just because they're telling themselves the wrong story. Yeah, there's plenty of business out there, whether it's notice of defaults or not, or not. Exactly. That's the right story. There's plenty of business out there. There's plenty of expired listing out there. You just need to go out and get it. That's the right story. The good thing is to go further out. The good thing is most agents are telling them the wrong story. That's why you have less competition, because they're not going out there to get the business because they don't believe it's possible. So this is so important, I'm telling you. Make sure you tell every day you wake up, tell yourself the right story. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Believe with certainty. We talked about this last time before. You must believe in yourself. You cannot say, if I can do this, then I'll do that, Do not say that. You say, when I do this, When. It's a matter of time. It's not a matter of whether you can do it or not. It's when you can do it. Because with enough repetition, you will do it. It's just a matter of time. So here's the thing, right? Either you're growing or you're shrinking. There's no, you're never gonna stay in some place idling. It's not gonna happen. It's never gonna happen, right? Because let's say if you're not making money, then all your money is dwindling away. You gotta pay this bill, you gotta pay that bill, you gotta pay the mortgage, you gotta pay a house, you gotta pay, and you gotta, pretty soon your credit card balance is gonna add up, right? So that's why you must move forward. You must make the sale. Try to make a sale every single day. You must grow. You must learn something new so you can do something a different way, so you can make more money, have more income. I mean, it all sounds pretty tiring, but there's different way to grow. Once you learn more, then you can grow to another stage. Then you can do it much easier than before. So you want to continue to grow. Some people say, oh, I don't want to make too much money. I just want to take it easy. I have enough. If you think like that, this one day I went to walk around. Sometimes I walk around in the neighborhood. I was talking to this elderly gentleman. He's like in his 70s. He was complaining the whole time. He's complaining about everything. He said, I feel this, I feel that, I feel this, I feel that. I talked to him for like 2 hours. The reason I was talking to him, sorry, I had an agenda. I was trying to see if he wants to sell his house. But I didn't tell him that. I didn't tell him that. So the whole time he was talking, the reason I bring him as an example is because he's not growing, because he retired like 20 years ago. He hasn't worked in 20 years. Every day what he does, he just take care of yards. And yeah, he's complaining, oh, I don't have the money. I don't even have enough money to eat. Every month I have at least 5 days I'm going through the 5 days hungry. He's complaining about all this. Why? Because he's not growing. He's just sitting there and collecting the retirement check. And he said, oh, I work hard, but the only thing he works is working on his yard. He said, oh, I have the most beautiful yard, but he's not producing anything. He's not growing. That's why he's shrinking. So you must grow. You cannot try to say, oh, I'm good, I'm going to stay in this level. No, you cannot. If you're going to stay in this level, you're going to dwindle down to nothing. Okay. A lot of times people say, I'll give examples. So before I was thinking, so I wanted to do this other business because it makes money quicker. So I'm not going to spend time to do this business too much because I want to save more money, more time for the other business. It doesn't work like that. You're not going to save time from one activity and give it to another activity. The bigger you think, the more time you're going to have. You think, oh, I'm only going to sell 10 homes this year. And then I'll have more time for my family, for my kids. No, you're not going to have more times. Whether you sell 10 homes a year or you sell 50 homes a year, it takes the same amount of time because you're gonna be able to learn, you're gonna be able to grow, you're gonna be able to implement different strategy, you're gonna have hire people, you're going to start to learn how to manage, you're gonna do different things. So in the end, you're gonna find out it actually takes you less time to sell 50 homes versus selling 10 homes. So you must think big. If you do not think that, oh, if I just stay small, then I can have more time. No, you do not. Because trust me, doesn't matter what you do, doesn't matter who you are, you will always have problems. Doesn't matter how big you think, doesn't matter how small you think, you will always have problems, endless problems. That's the fact of life. Just by you thinking small and doing less will not limit the potential number of problems that you will encounter. You will not. Everybody will have the same exact number of problems. Doesn't matter you think big or not or small. Like this is the same thing. Problems will never disappear. It will be there forever. The difference is you want to make sure to work on the right problem versus the wrong problem. Okay, what's the wrong problem? The wrong problem could be, okay, I have this yard. The grass is not the type of grass I like. It's not green enough. It's not tall enough. I'm going to remove all this grass. I'm going to get brand new grass. I mean, that could be a right problem for some people, but that's not a productive problem. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no matter what, you're going to have problems. Just make sure you focus on the right problem. So this is another thing. I have this issue before too. So I think most people grew up when they're starting from a younger kids being more selfish. Sometimes for some people, their parents correct them. Hey, if you eat this, you need to give half to your sister or to your brother. You need to learn to share. So if the parents tell you this kind of stuff, they teach you how not to be selfish. So if you're like that, you're lucky. Then if you're not selfish, then you're willing to help people. You're willing to serve more people. That's where the money is. How do you make more money? By serving more people. Let's say if you're selfish, if you don't want to, then you say, okay, I don't care about any other people. I just care about myself. I only want to sell 10 homes a year. Once I sell 10 homes a year, I'm done. That means you're not willing to serve people. You're only willing to serve 10 people. That's it. So that's how much money you're going to make. Let's say on the other hand, you say, okay, I want to help as many families as possible to get their dream house. It could be 50, 100, 1,000. My goal is to help 1,000 families to get their dream home. See, the second scenario, you're willing to helping people. You're willing to serve people. When you think like that, your business will grow. A lot of people, they do not grow their business. They do not make a lot of money. It's because they don't want to help people. They think it's a hassle. They don't want to serve people. That's the difference. Okay. Focus on what's possible rather than worrying. So this is the same thing we talked about before. You want to make sure you focus on the right problem. You want to make sure you tell yourself the right story. Because that's the human nature. If you do not tell yourself the right story, everything that's going to come into your mind is going to be worry and the negativities. I guarantee you. That's why you need to make sure you intentionally tell you the right story every single day. Okay, so this is something about high energy hack. We're going to just go through briefly. The energy comes from higher purpose. Okay, energy comes from higher purpose. You need to link. Let's say, okay, if you say, okay, I want to sell 50 homes a year. Oh, I want to make $200,000 a month. So if you just say it without any reasons, it's not going to mean anything to you. Let's say, okay, let's say if I tell myself, okay, I'm gonna, there's this home I want. It's really nice. There's this luxury condo. It's really nice. It's $500,000. I really want it. So that means I have to make $500,000 this year so I can afford that condo. Then you have a higher purpose, right? So because you have a reason for doing it. If your reason just, oh, I want to sell 50 homes, you're not going to get it because it doesn't mean anything. It has no meaning to you. Number two, focus more, right? You want to focus. Less is more, like we were talking about the 20%, you want to focus on the 20%. Okay. Okay. So this is very important. Okay. This concept is very important. If you do not get this, you will not be productive. Emotion generates energy. Energy generates achievement. If your emotion is not right, you're not gonna do anything. You're not gonna have energy to do anything, and you're not gonna achieve anything. You're not gonna get anything done. So what you want to build is these emotions. So the more of these emotions you have, the more energy you will have, the more productive you will be. You want consistently get yourself sense of progress, a predictable future, sense of progress, meaning that you know that you are improving, you're growing. Foreseeable future, meaning that you know that the future is gonna be great. You know that you're gonna get to where you want to be, and you're rewarding yourself. You're getting rewards periodically. You are making money. You are seeing yourself making money. And you have a sense of control. You have a control of your destiny. And if you always have this kind of feelings inside you, you will be very powerful. You will be very productive, because all this energy, everything here is feeding you the right energy. You want to make sure you continue to get this kind of energy. How do you get this kind of energy? Is that your mind and body and spirit must be right. If your mind is not right, if your body is not right, if your spirit is not right, you're not going to get the outcome. You're not going to get the right energy. If you're not going to get the right energy, you're not going to produce the right outcome. If you don't produce the right outcome, you're not going to get any of this. The only way you can get this is that when you have the right outcome, right? So let's say you learn the 10 listing 10 weeks challenge, then you feel a sense of progress. You feel a little bit better. You feel a little bit more certain about what you want to achieve, right? Then that means the future suddenly look a little bit brighter to you. And then you started calling, you started booking appointment, you started going to listing presentation. Bam, you signed a listing. That's a reward. They're like, oh, I did it. Wow, that's the energy, right? So your energy is gonna build up, and you're gonna be more stronger. You're gonna be more confident. You're gonna be more, much a believer, more of a believer. And then once you sign the contract, bam, you started making a commission. Oh, your money coming in. Then it's a positive cycle started going. Let's say if your commission continue not come in, you don't make a commission in 1 month, you still do not make a commission next month, you still do not make a commission the third month, then you're done. If you continue not make money, it's gonna drain your energy. That's why it's very important you want to build up all this progress. Because let's say if you do not make a commission in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, then you will lose your sense of control. Then you feel like, what's the point? I cannot do any of this. I cannot make the money. I cannot get a commission. I have no control for my life. What's the point? Then you're gonna lose hope. You're gonna completely lose hope. That's why you wanna get started and work on this. Make sure you get this little milestones. Make sure you get this little rewards. The sense of progress. The started making money. You want to start build up everything here. The more you build up on these things, the more positive you will be. The more of a right story you're gonna tell yourself, and the more sense of control you will feel. Let's say if you do not have any of this for prolonged time, you will fail for sure. Because if you do not have any of this, you will have nothing to tell yourself the right story. And the only story you're going to be telling yourself are the negativities, the negative stories. If you continue to tell yourself the negative stories every day, you're done. You're not gonna be able to get back up. Again, start baby step. Try to get one triangle at a time. Try to get it. For example, I made 200 phone calls today. That's a progress, right? That's a sense of progress. I did it. And you reward yourself. I have a cup of ice cream. I go watch a movie. I feel good. Then you feel good. Then next day you maybe call again. Bam, you got a phone. You book an appointment. Then you feel like, oh, I'm not doing everything for nothing because I called. I was able to book the appointment. Then you feel a sense of control, right? So that's how you build up this positive energy within yourself. You want to build up all these little positive energies. So once everything starts to compound, then you're gonna start feel very powerful, and you're gonna start to feel like you have 100% control of your life. The reason I'm talking with you guys here is because I feel very confident, because I know I have control of it. I know I go to the seller 9 out of 10 times I'm gonna sign this listing. The seller will sign the listings. The reason I did it is not because I was born to do it. I practiced so much. I kept improving. Even now, I'm still continuing to improve, because every time I go there, actually, I'm getting a little bit bored, but I use it as an opportunity to improve my skill. How can I find a seller way quicker? How can I find out the seller's personality quicker? How can I find out what the price the seller want quicker? How can I open up the seller quicker? How can I make the seller sign the listing contract? So I see it as every listing appointment I go to, I see it as a way to improve myself, my skill. The more I do it, the more of this little feedback, of this little rewards I get, the more sense of control I have of my life. That's what you want to build. And if you have all this, you're going to feel very powerful. But start baby step, okay? Because all this is not possible without your skill increasing. You have to put in the work every day. to increase the sales skill. Once your skill starts to increase, then you can start to get this positive feedback. Any questions so far? Okay, so this is the business hacking machine. So before, what we talked about before was mostly on the personal level, how to make your time more efficient, how to make sure you are more productive as a person, how to make sure that you're, you get the outcome you want. So this next step section we're talking about is how to make your business more productive. So the first one, to make your more, well, it's also business, also personal, to make yourself more productive, to, to hack the time, is that you gotta make sure that you're in the right circle. The fact that you're on the session here in the Zoom today, you're moving one step closer to getting what you want, because we're talking about something that's positive to you. We're talking about something that's going to help you to improve. We're talking about a different system. We're talking about a different type of way to do business. So because you're associating with the right people, because they said, if you want to know how much you make, just look at the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Let's say the 5 people that you hang out with the most, their average income is 100,000. That's going to be your income. That's why it's so powerful. That's why you want to make sure you are in the right circle of friends, of people, so that this is actually the most powerful way. Let me share with you an example. So before, when I was struggling trying to book appointments with sellers, I just don't know why I wasn't able to book appointments. So I was in this other training program until this one day. It's not even taught in the course. Is during the break time. I was talking to this guy. I said, so I forgot how this started, but he was saying that it's easy. I said, how come the sellers, they don't want to meet with me? Then he said, it's easy. All you got to do is tell them you're going to buy the home. Bam. Just by that one conversation, I got it. After I realized that, I was able to sign a lot of listings just through that one conversation. That's the example of the power of the circle, of the right association. Let's talk about an opposite example. Let's say if you're in the wrong circle, let's say you have a friend. They're like, you tell your friend, you say, oh, I'm in this 10 listing, 10 weeks challenge. I'm trying to learn how to get more listings. And your friend tell you, are you sure that's possible? That sounds like a scam. How can you get 10 listings in 10 weeks? That's the wrong circle. If you're gonna hang out with somebody like that, you're done. So a good way to make sure you improve your business, improving your personal life, is make sure you gotta be in the right circle. It makes a huge difference. Okay. Anybody else have any questions so far? Anybody? Okay. So the next one is, we talked about this before, is the skill hack. You want to make sure your skill is continually to accumulate your skill, so that your skill, you have the skill to get it done. The easiest way to do it, the reason last time me and Gloria, we did the listing presentation for you, that's for you to see how it's done. So you see how it's done, then you copy it every day. Every day you go to a seller, meet with seller, you try to practice it. And once the seller signs the contract, then it becomes a reality for you. Then your skill is kind of improved enough that you're able to get the listing signed. So the more skill you have, the better skill you improve, the more money you're gonna make, the more productive you're gonna be, the more time you're gonna save. Let's say initially when your listing skill, presentation skill is where it's just whatever, it takes you to go to 5 listings to get 1 contract signed. As your skill improve, maybe you're starting to get every 3 appointments, you get 1 contract signed, and you improve again. Every 2 appointments, you get 1 contract signed. So as your skill increase, you will be more efficient. That's gonna save you more time. Okay, the next hack, it's hire people. We talked about before. You want to hire your first admin as soon as possible, or get your TC as soon as possible. You want to focus on one thing, which is sales. So have your TC do the paperwork, so that you can focus on sales. So that's how you can be be more productive. That's how you can be more productive with your time. Okay, the next one is to set up your dream schedule. I think this one, Edward asked me this question earlier. The key about setting up your dream schedule is, number one, is a schedule that you like. You don't have to copy anybody else. Just make sure it's a schedule you like. Because some people, they like to stay up late. Some people, they like to wake up early. It doesn't matter. Just make sure it's something that fits your personality. And the most important thing is that your schedule, your daily schedule, must align with your goal. Let's say if your goal is to get 10 listings in 10 weeks, then what you must do every day? That means you must talk to a seller a day, go to a listing appointment a day. So if that's what's on your schedule, that will be aligned to your goal. Let's say if your daily schedule is to talk to a buyer a day, I'm not saying it's not good, but if your goal is to get 10 listings a week, and if your daily activity is talk to one buyer a day, that doesn't align, right? So that will not help you to get your goal. So you want to make sure your daily task must align with your goal. And you want to make sure that it's non-negotiable. I'm gonna talk to 10 sellers today. If I don't talk to 10 sellers, I'm not gonna eat. I'm gonna book appointment today. If I do not book appointment today, I'm not gonna go to restroom. Whatever. Just make it some way to make it non-negotiable. Because if it's negotiable, then nothing means anything. It's just like that 200 phone call example. You want to make sure it's done before you go do something else. You must make it non-negotiable and persistent. But obviously, in between, you're gonna reward yourself. You're gonna take breaks so that you can sustain. Right? You want to make sure you can sustain. Okay. And the next thing, you want to set up the system. You want to build a checklist. You want to train let's say if you hire a team member, you want to train the team member. You want to make sure, tell them, share with them how to do it, and then you're gonna make sure that it's done correctly. So this is another way to hack your time, to make the time more efficient. So for example, for our listings, we have a listing checklist. So every listing, we sign the contract. First, we make a group with the seller, and then we check off the listing checklist, marketing checklist, everything we need to do for each new listing. Put up the sign, arrange photo shoot, post on YouTube, We have a checklist. So that's another way to make it more efficient. So I'm sorry, I'm missing an I here. So implement lead source. So this is another way to hack, is a marketing hack to make sure you can make more income. So you want to implement the offer, you want to add more lead source, like you can use your listing to get more listings. You can do cold call, you can do online marketing, you can do radio, postcard, whatever. So this is another way you can to multiply your marketing effort to make more money. Okay, so anybody have any question about business hacking your business to make more money? Go ahead, Edward.
Yeah. How did you go about recruiting your telemarketers? So for my VAs, we found my VA on onlinejobs.ph. It's a virtual virtual ISAs.
Yeah, virtual staff.
Yeah.
So the key. So we'll probably end up having a session about that. How to hire people, how to train people, how to make sure the person is the right fit for the job. That's important too. That's very important. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that's another way to grow.
Leverage, yeah.
That's another hack, right? Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so now we're gonna talk briefly about the listing process. This is sort of related to time hacking, because what I see is that a lot of people are doing it incorrectly. Either they're missing the step, or they're combining the step or they're doing the steps backward. So what I mean by that is that I know a lot of agents. I think we talk about this with Michael last time. He was talking about how come the seller doesn't want to meet with me. The reason the seller doesn't meet with him is because he was commingling appointment booking with listing presentation. This is 2-step. You cannot make it 1-step. Book the appointment first, then you do the presentation. You do not do the presentation on the phone. Okay, so this is, you want to make sure it's 2 separate steps. Do not combine it. And another mistake a lot of agents make, and I see that's wrong, is that like this morning I went to do the listing presentation is from the leads from another agent. She was bringing buyer to the seller without the contract being signed. You do not do that. If the listing contract is not signed, you do not do anything. You only do it, you only start working on anything when the contract is signed. Let me give you an example. When you go to the doctor's office, what do? They give you a clipboard, right? You fill out a form, you sign a contract, right? What do you do when you go to the attorney's office? What do? They give you a clipboard. You fill out the information, you sign a contract, right? So remember, we're the professional. We're the professional. You do not work for free. You do not work for free, okay? If the seller do not sign the contract, you do not do anything. You do not bring the buyer, you do not do anything. The right sequence is you book the appointment first, then you go do the presentation, you sign the listings. Once you sign the listing, then you can use the listing to get more listing, and then you can market your sold listing. This is the right sequence. You do not. No, everybody made this mistake. I made a mistake too. I made an even bigger stupid mistake. Before there was a seller, he wanted to sell a home in Newport Coast. I spent like $1,000 to do photo shoot on the aerial video, but I never got the listing. So do not work for free. Do not waste your money. Do not waste your time. If the contract is not signed, it just means your skill level is not ready to get a contract signed yet. So you do not waste time on bringing buyer to that seller. You do not waste time on working on that listing. What you need to do is improve your skill to the point where you are able to get the contract signed. Then you start working on the listing. Because if you don't sign the contract, everything you do is going to be a waste of time. You know, you cannot tell people the address. If you tell the people the address, some other agent going to go knock on the door, try to get the listing. Even if you bring a buyer, you know, maybe the seller going to get the buyer's information. They're going to buy the house themselves. You know, you're left out. So this is the right sequence. You do not work. You do not do anything unless you get a contract signed. Okay. Do not combine book appointment with listing presentation. This is separate, 2 steps. Any question about this? The listing process? Okay. We're gonna go on. Okay, so how to work on your business. So eventually you're gonna work on your business, because if you only gonna work in your business, it's like that example we talked about earlier, right? About as soon as your home go into escrow, you should stop working. You should go out and start getting more business. That's what you're supposed to do. So that's kind of related to working on a business. What's working in the business is working the deal from the beginning to end. That's working in the business. If you're only working in the business, there's no way you're gonna increase your sales. The only way you can increase your sales is you gotta work on the business. But it takes time, okay? Obviously, you're not gonna be able to do it on day one, but it takes time. So here are the baby steps. First, you close your first listing deals. So once you close your first listing deals, the reason it takes time is because it takes money and the manpower to be able to work on the business, right? So if you don't have the money, then you're not gonna be able to work on the business. Then initially you can only work in the business because you have you, right? Because when you have you're just using your time, right? Your personal time. So once you close your first deal, then you can maybe have enough money to hire your first admin. Once you hire your first admin, then you're gonna free out more time to do sales. Then your income will increase, right? Then you're gonna use the listing to get more listings. And then you're gonna get your first buyer's agent. Then you can have all these leads from all your listings. So the buyer's agent can do more sales with the buyer's leads that you got from your listings. And then you're gonna eventually build your entire team. Then you're gonna be able to work on the business. Okay, so these are the little steps that's gonna take you to from working in the business to work on the business. That's your ultimate goal. Obviously not in your first day or first week or first month, but baby step, baby step. Any question on this? So this is related to time hacking too, right? This is related to, so once you can work on your business, then you'll be able to produce much more because you're no longer, just you. So another thing about this is that a lot of people have a problem delegating. For example, a lot of people, they say, oh, I'm going to follow through this deal from the beginning to end. A lot of people, they have a problem getting the TC to do the paperwork is because some of those people, they're a technician. They're very, they want to make sure everything's 100%. Do not do that. You do something 100%. How many can you do? The most you can do maybe 10. Let's say you hire somebody that do something at 90%. Then as long as the more people you hire, the more you can do. You can do 100, 1,000, unlimited. But if you only want to do everything on your own, the most you can do is 10 because you're trying to make everything perfect. Okay, so this is the system implementation. So this is kind of related to, so for example, let's say I'm gonna use an example of mailing out postcards. So we started mailing out, just sold postcards. So basically, in order for your business to grow, you need to implement programs, right? Implement systems. And once you implement a system, you cannot drop the ball. The system has to continue running, and then you're gonna implement another system. But when you implement another system, you need to assign new people, new manpower, and new money. So what you do not want to do is you implement system A, implement A program, and then when you try to implement B program, A program stop. You don't want to do that. That's like just stupid, right? So what you want to do is you want to add on more programs, so you can be more productive. So let's use me sending the just sold postcard as an example. So first we commit the money, right? So we talk to the company, okay, how much is gonna cost to mail? Every time when we put a home in escrow, we're gonna mail out 300 postcards. How much is gonna be? Let's say $500. Okay, that's the money we need to commit. Number two, we need to commit the manpower. So I have my staff. I have so I assign a team member. So okay, so let's make sure every time when we put the home in escrow, let's make sure to follow through to make sure the 300 postcards is mailed out. Then we gotta have checklists to make sure it's done, right? Then obviously we're gonna train so that the team member know how to do it, and then we gotta have the right motivation. Then we gotta accountable to make sure, okay, this home just went into escrow. Did we send the postcard? That home just went into escrow. Did we send the postcard? So once this whole process is done, we have this system in place. But you still need to check from time to time to make sure it's running correctly. Then let's say next month, we're gonna implement another program. Then you gotta do the same thing. You cannot move the person that's in charge of this program and have them go to that one. You can add it, but you cannot remove them and bring them to the other one. Because if you bring them to the other one, then the old program is fall apart, right? Any question about this? About the system implementation? Okay. So example, yeah, we'll talk about example, okay? So we're gonna talk briefly about the client hacking. So if you're working with buyers, you wanna make sure you rank them, right? A client are ready and able, B client are ready, not able, C client are not ready, not able. So you wanna rank your clients, but before you can rank your client, you need to have enough clients to rank, right? So I see what's wrong with most agents is that you do not have enough client. So you're only working with the C client. If you're only working with the C clients, then you're not gonna make money because they're not ready, they're not able. They have no money and they're not ready. They're not able. So the reason you're working with C clients is because you don't have enough client to pick from. So you wanna have enough clients so that you can actually rank with them so you can work with the a client that's ready and able. For the client that's ready and able, you want to, show them homes right away within 72 hours. Okay, so 72 hours is it's 3 days, right? So you want to show them, within 72 hours. Okay, so you want to have enough client, then you can rank the client, so you can focus on the client that's ready and able. And the other thing we'll talk about is you got to work with real client, people that's willing to sign contract with you. Okay, you do not work with people that's like a fake client, right? So problem hacking we'll talk about earlier. There's always going to be problem no matter what. Just focus on the right problem. And decide on what problem you want to focus on. Decide which problems to work on. Which problems to delegate. So like we talked about earlier, right? So what you gonna do on your everyday? What you gonna put in your calendar? So if you're gonna get a listing, then you need to talk to a seller, talk to 10 sellers. You need to do a presentation. That's the right problem you need to focus on. So to focus, you want to always refocus every day. So the one thing that you must get it done that every day. So focus on that. Align the goal with the task. We talked about this earlier. Do the most important task first. Block out the distractions. Yeah, we talked about this before. So yeah, so all this leverage. So basically your productivity will increase and your time efficiency will increase with this leverages. So if you can leverage time, you can leverage manpower, leverage technology, leverage media, leverage code, leverage the phone, leverage the system. So basically what you need to do is add them on one by one. Add them on one by one. And the more leverage you add on, the more income you're gonna make, and the more efficient you're gonna be, the more productive you're gonna be. Yeah, that's about it, I think, today. So any feedback, any questions? I mean, today is also a little bit conceptual, so I don't know if it's helpful to you guys. I try to give some examples, as many examples as possible. Like I said earlier, the story you tell yourself is very important. Go ahead. Anybody want to talk? Anybody has a question? No? Okay. Yeah, so you want to make sure every day tell yourself the right story. That's the most important thing. Because if you do not tell yourself the right story, there's no way you're going to be productive, because you don't even believe it. Like Edward was saying earlier, oh, I thought there's no expired listings, so I'm not going to call, because that's the wrong story you're telling yourself. While you're telling yourself that, most of the listings we got during this past, since we started the 10 listing 10 weeks challenge, I think 3 of those listings are from expired call.
Yeah, there's a few, but in order to go after them, I think I would have to go way further out than Irvine.
Oh, that's something you want to decide. That's one.
Yeah.
That's the decision you need to make.
Yeah.
How far out am I willing to go? Yeah. So
but there's a lot of notice of defaults and list pendants and all. There's a lot of business out there.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's you just need to
there's pre-probate, a lot of different things.
So that's another thing, right? You want to, like the program we're talking about before, the key about program implementation is that you got to do it one at a time.
Yeah.
Let's say you say, okay, I'm going to try to do cold call, then just focus on this. Once you become good at it, then you can move on to the next project.
I think I've called expired for years and FISBOs and just sold. But I think I'm gonna add in the notice of defaults.
Yeah. Yeah. So you add one at a time. So actually a couple of weeks ago, I actually bought a course about that. I haven't got around to study yet. So we talk about the implementation, right? So let's say in other situation, you gotta add the notice of default. So then you gotta assign the you gotta figure out a way to get to those potential clients. And then you gotta, obviously you're probably gonna spend money on it to either study it or market to them or send whatever. And you gotta, for now, it's probably gonna be you. You gotta be putting the time in it. So you gotta implement it.
Do some driving for dollars, things like that.
Yeah. So once you become good at it, once you get a hang of it, then because of that, your income will increase. And because your income increase, you might have some, you will have some money, extra money, so you can hire somebody to work on that, to focus on that program, to carry out that program. So once you have somebody that's in charge of that program, and that program starting to produce you outcome, the right outcome, then you can start to add another program. That's how you can increase your sales. But what you cannot do is try to start 5 programs or 3 programs all at once. That's not gonna work, because you're gonna be out of focus. Yeah. So for me, like as I shared with you guys earlier, the first program I implemented when I first started was to perfect my listing presentation skill. And even before that, the program I started was to perfect my appointment booking skill. So once I was able to book appointments really well on my own, then I hired team member to book for me. Then I got to train them. And then once that's in place, then I have a team member call every day. And then while team member is calling every day, booking an appointment for me. Well, in the beginning, I was calling myself and I was booking an appointment for myself to go every day. So because I was doing that every day, so my listing presentation skill increased. Then so these programs I implemented. Then now what I'm doing is, so we started implementing the just sold car program, because I was able to book the appointment, I was able to sign the listing, we were able to make the money, and then now we are able to have more listings. So now we are able to send out just sold postcards, because we were selling these homes. So we were able to send out the just sold postcard. So we were able to implement this just sold postcard program. So
right now you're branding.
Yeah. So what were we saying?
So now you're branding yourself.
Yeah. So another program I'm implementing, just started a couple of weeks ago, is TikTok. So basically, essentially, every sales agent, every realtor is a sales organization. A sales organization is essentially your brand, is essentially brand and sales, right? So basically everything we do mostly is surrounding these 2 subjects, branding and sales. So right now, we have one pretty good way to get listing is through the calling the expires. That's bringing good amount of business. Because of that, we were able to get a lot of listings, and because we were able to get a lot of listings, we were able to leverage the listings to get more listings. So that became another program that get more business. So now I'm starting to do TikTok. So right now what I'm doing is I'm uploading at least 3 videos a day on TikTok. So the last week we grew like about 100 followers. So once, so I gotta correct myself too. Once my TikTok grow to more followers, audience, then that would become another source of branding and a resource for me. So basically, you gotta implement each program one by one. So everybody's at a different stage. Some of you haven't signed a listing yet. Some of you signed a listing, but your convert ratio is pretty low. Some people, you sign the listings, but the overpriced, so the home's not selling. Some people, so everybody is on a different stage. But if you just continue to improve, then that's the beauty of this whole thing, right? It's like it gives you something to perfect, to master. So if you work on it, on a daily basis, then you're gonna obviously, for me, of course I want to make the money too, but the process of improving and perfecting my skill every day, that's a big motivator for me. See, remember we talked about that all those triangles. It's very motivating for me because I'm getting all this positive feedback. I'm getting rewards. I'm getting sense of control. I feel, so I'm getting all those positive energies because I'm continuing to build up. So that's what you need to do too. So in the beginning, it's essential that you do not get, for some of you, if you're just starting, you do not get discouraged. Just take baby step. Just, take many milestones. But the key is you got to do it every day. It's like, because every Sunday I go do training, the Kung Fu training, Wing Chun training. And every day I practice at home. So we have some other students, they don't practice at home. They only practice when they go there on the Sunday. And the teacher can tell they didn't practice at home because they can tell. So, but I practice every day. So last Sunday we did the training, and one of the students, the teacher said, I can tell you didn't train yourself there at home because I can tell from your form. So we were telling him, say, hey, you got to make sure you train every day. Doesn't matter. It could be 1 minute. It could be half minute. It's better than nothing. Just get started. You want to make sure you train every single day. It's the same thing. So I look at everything as a craft, right? So the Kung Fu is a craft. You master that craft. Getting listing is a craft. You master this craft. Being a real estate agent is a craft. So you don't worry about, too much now. Just take it one step at a time. But the key importance is that you gotta be consistent. You gotta do it every day, every single day. It could be as simple as talking to one seller today. That's progress. Maybe tomorrow you're gonna talk to 2 sellers. Maybe the next day you're gonna talk to 3 sellers. So it's very important to have this sense of progress, because let's say if you say to yourself, I'm gonna talk to 10 sellers today, then you end up not doing it today. And the next day you tell yourself, I'm going to talk to 10 sellers a day. You still don't do it. Then pretty soon you're going to feel so demoralized that you will not want to do anything, because you don't have this positive feedback. You're in this negative downward spiral because you're telling yourself you need to do this. You don't do it. You do not get an outcome. You do not increase your skill. You do not, get this sense of progress. Then everything's gonna come downhill. You're gonna be done. So even just by talk to 1 seller the first day, talk to 2 sellers the second day, even this tiny improvement will give you the energy, give you the strength, give you the belief, because you feel that you're seeing this sense of progress. It's very important.
Yeah, I know I got off track, and I liked your triangle because that helped quite a bit.
Yes. So
yeah,
it's so important. If you don't have anything on this triangle, you're gonna feel demoralized. Doesn't matter what you do, you're not gonna be able to tell yourself the right story. But if you just start, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
Everything is self-enforcing. The mind, the body, the spirit in the white triangle, you gotta have that. They all come hand in hand. If your mind is not, if you're not satisfied in your mind, if you're not satisfied in your body, if you're not satisfied in your spirit, you're not gonna be willing to do the work to get all this positive feedback. If you do not get all this positive feedback, you will not feel satisfied in your mind. You will not feel satisfied in your body. You will not feel satisfied in your spirit. Because let's face it, if you don't make money, I'm not saying you, just in general. Let's say if you have this bill, if you have a bill every month, let's say if your bill is 5,000, if every month you're not making any money for like 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, you're not making money, then it's not gonna enforce you. You're not gonna have the right enforcement. That's why it's so important. You gotta continually to build in yourself the sense of progress, the foreseeable future, the making the money, getting the rewards, have the sense of control. You gotta continue to build all these senses of emotion in yourself. Then you have the positive energy. Then you're gonna be able to go out there and do the stuff, do the work, and to generate the achievements. But it's all going hand in hand. If you, let's say spiritually you feel you don't feel right, you don't. So for example, I'll give you an example. So when I was younger, before, you know, I didn't, you know, I'm not married, you know, I was always trying to look for the perfect spouse, right? So I was spending a lot of time in that department. So because I don't feel that department is fulfilled, so I'm distracted. I always trying to find a girl. I'm always trying to, you know, find the like my perfect woman. So I'm so distracted. I'm not putting any, you know, energy into work. So that's what I mean by that. So you want to, it all come hand in hand. So let's say once you become successful, or it doesn't, you don't have to be successful. I mean, once you find the person you love and you have this, you enjoy this companionship, spiritually you feel very fulfilled. Then you will be willing to go do the work. If spiritually you don't feel fulfilled, you don't feel to work. It's not because you're lazy. It's just because your mind is not in the right place. Your spirit is not in the right place. But everything is a kind of, you know, mutually dependent on each other. So what you want to do is you want to get into the right mindset. You want to make sure you're great spiritually. You want to make sure your body is, you know, in the optimum condition. And then you go out there, you do all these things. You continue to generate more of these little triangles, get more sense of progress, more you're able to see your future more clearly. You're getting the little rewards. You're starting to make money. You start to feel a sense of control. So once you build up everything, then you know. Once everybody here, whether you're in control or not, you know. If you're not in control, you will not feel good. You will feel demoralized. You will feel, you know, you feel like, what's the point? And it's not even working. So that's why, but you're not gonna get here on day one. Same thing. You want to start, how do you get here? By what we talked about earlier, by taking the baby step, talk to one seller a day, talk to 2 sellers the next day, talk to 3 sellers the next day. Just by doing that alone, you see the progress, and you're increasing your skill at the same time, and you're pivoting, you're readjusting yourself.
Right, on your triangle, there's a change every 3 years. What does that mean?
Okay, that's something I didn't talk about, but that's actually something very important too. Because usually, whatever business model you have that's working, that's making money for you, most likely will only work for 3 years. That's the nature of everything, of life, of business, of everything. For example, let's say, go ahead.
You mean you want to move up to the next level, right?
It's not a level, it's a different way to do business. For example, let's say the past 3 years, the market is really good. The past 3 years, if I'm a buyer's agent, it's very hard, right? Because the past 3 years, if you were a buyer's agent, it would not be a good year for you, because, you know, it's kind of hard to get especially the past 1 year. It's very hard for you to get the listing. It's very hard to get your offer accepted, right? So for the past 3 years, if you were a buyer's agent, that's hard for you.
Right.
But if you were the listing agent, then it's good for you. But the next 3 years, it may be something different, right? The next 3 years.
Yeah, because like, for example, as interest rates go up, there's gonna be a lot more expires.
Yeah. So the next 3 years, so let's say for me, okay, for my example, for the next 3 years, I'm gonna pivot. If I continue to do the exact same thing I'm doing for the past 3 years, it's not gonna work. The efficiency will dwindle to nothing, because for the next 3 years, interest rate increase. Sellers still believe their home worth a lot of money, but the market doesn't support it, so the home will not be selling. So for the next 3 years, if I'm continuing doing the same thing as I was doing the past 3 years, so basically for the past 3 years, I don't have to worry about selling the home. I just get the listing and sold. I just get the listing and sold. But if I do that, if I use that same business model in the next 3 years, it will not work. I have to tweak my system to work. Do you know what I mean, Patty?
Right, market changes.
Yes, it could be anything. It could be market change. It could be political change. It could be anything. That's just the nature of that's the law of nature. So I get this from the I Ching. I don't know if you know that book. It's a very famous book, 道德经, I Ching. So that's
Teaching, yeah.
yeah. So In there it says, because the guy, he wrote this book like 5,000 years ago when there was not even a language. He wrote this book. There is no such book. He just put out all these little symbols because he was observing everything, the nature, the earth, the sun, the four seasons. He came up with this book. But at that time, there's not even a language. There's no Chinese language. So he actually wrote the whole book in little sticks. So later on, somebody really smart interpreted what he wrote, made in those little signs and made it into the book. So this, something changed. The change every 3 years. That's like a law of nature. Every 3 years, it's like every 1,000 days, something will change. Whatever that's worked before 1,000 days ago most likely will not work the next 1,000 days. So you have to trick. You have to make some changes.
So you have to adapt yourself too.
Yes, exactly. So now for me, for the next 3 years, I'm thinking, what should I do? How do I adapt? How do I change? How do I tweak it so that how do I tweak it so that when I take the listing, it's gonna sell? Because if I don't make that change, if I just do exactly what I did before, although I'm gonna take a lot of listings, but they will not sell because the price that the seller have in mind is very low price. The market will not buy it.
Do you foresee still going to be seller market? I mean,
well, I'm not gonna have any predictions, but pretty soon because right now the seller, well, here's what the seller's thinking nowadays. Okay, all the sellers know now is the best time to sell the home.
right.
All the sellers know pretty soon something's gonna change.
Right.
Okay, that's why many sellers want to sell now. For example, the seller that we met this morning, I asked him, so what's most important for you in selling this home? Oh, I want to get the price I want. Okay, then I ask him again. I said, so what's your timeline? Is timeline important for you too? You say, yeah, that's important too. I want to get it sold as quickly as possible. Why does he say that? Because in his mind, he thinks something's gonna change.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's when we just talk about that. That's a different level, depending on what level you are in. So if you're already taking listings, if you're already selling homes, then you need to think about that. But if you're just starting out, try to get the listing, try to learn how to do the presentation, then you need to think about that. There's no right or wrong. There's no because everybody gets started somewhere, right? Everybody is on a different stage, right? You don't have to worry about if you're too late or not. You don't have to worry about that. I'll give you an example. I'm 45 now. So, because I was in the Army before, right? I was in the US Army before. So by the time I graduated from college, I was already 27 years old. At the time, I'm thinking, wow, most people graduate college when they're 22, but I graduated college when I'm 27. Would it be too late? It's never too late. Just everybody, you have your own, you just work on your own pace. You have your own life to live in. Just work at your own pace. You don't have to worry about other people. But what's most important is that you have to make the progress. You have to take the action so you can see the progress. The problem with most people is they tell themselves the wrong story, so they do not even take the action. That's the biggest problem.
Right. Either you grow or shrink.
Yes. There's no way you can stay there. Just like the old guy, I was talking to for 2 hours because I was trying to see if he want to sell the home, but I never asked him. But he's an example that he's shrinking. He's not happy. He's like, why he's I feel this, I feel that all the time? Because he's not happy. He doesn't see any of this. He has no sense of progress. He doesn't see a foreseeable future. His future is just waiting to die. It's hard to see. It's the best thing to say, but that's the reality. He has no rewards. His reward is just eat some like a TV dinner or whatever. He has nothing to look after. So he's not making money. He's complaining, oh, I'm only getting $2,500 retirement check. I don't have enough money to eat. So he's not making more money. So he doesn't have a sense of control because he's like, oh, I don't know how to make money. I'm just sitting here, That's why he's after you this, after you that, because he has nothing of this. And he has none of this. But whose fault is that? That's his own fault. Because that's the life he chose. He chose to stay idle. But when you stay idle, you're gonna shrink. You're not gonna stay there the same. You're gonna shrink.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions? So the main key today: tell yourself the right story. Take baby steps. Okay, tell yourself the right story. That's why it's important. I kept sharing with you guys every morning. You want to clear your mind every morning, every night, every morning, whatever schedule works for you. You want to do it every single day, because if you not do it, you're gonna get off track. You're gonna get out of focus. You're gonna start telling yourself the wrong story. You want to build this habit. So next time we're gonna talk about the what. Let me see. What's the topic we're gonna talk about next time? Let me see. I'm gonna check the. Let me see. I'm checking the top questions people ask. So we covered how to get leads, how to do closing, how to do a presentation, and we covered the no time, and I think we also covered the lack of focus, right? So next one, we're gonna talk about hiring. The question Edward asked: how do you hire the right people? How do you train? How do you, the whole 9 yards? Because I mean, it's the hiring is actually gonna come to you. You would need to eventually do this sooner or later. It's very fast actually. Once you get all this, once you get your first listing signed, once you start increasing deals, you want to focus on sales. So you need to have people to focus on admin part. So you want to hire your admin as soon as possible. Is that okay with everybody? We'll talk about hiring and training next week. How to get help, how to get an assistant, how to get a team member.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Oh, I'm so I'm so relieved I put it off. So the whole week, I was trying to figure out what I need to put in the presentation. So every time I think of something, I put in there. Every time I think of something, I put in there. But it's just a whole big draft. So because yesterday afternoon I had to go to a listing presentation, so I signed the listing. So when I came back, I didn't feel like doing the work. So I was sitting. I ate a bowl of noodle, and I started watching some TV. And by the time I realized I still need to do the complete the presentation, it's already like 10:30. so I hurry up. I came up to the office and I started working on the presentation. And I didn't finish the presentation until 3:30 a.m. Then this morning we're supposed to go to a listing presentation at 8:30 a.m. So I put an alarm on my phone, and the alarm didn't work. I was just like so out of it. And the agent, she called me. She said, "Hey, where are you?" So that was like 8:25 already. So I hurry up. It was in Sherry Margin. So I hurry up. I got there like 10 minutes late. It's the best thing. Never be late on the appointment. So I went there. So I came back in time to do the presentation. So it's a good problem to have, right? So that's what I mean. So you want to have the good problems, because if you do not have the good problems, guarantee you will have the bad problems. Let's take the health as example. So for me, 5 years ago, maybe more than 5 years ago, I had a really bad cholesterol. I really like a high blood pressure over there. I think I even had maybe a minor stroke too, because one morning when I woke up, half of my face was frozen. So that's a problem. Came by itself because I didn't take care of the problem, right? So then I started, walk every day, 10,000 steps, 5,000 steps in the morning, 5,000 steps in the afternoon, and I started eating more healthy. So instead of you want to be proactive. That's what I mean. So you want to be proactive, so you don't have the problem come to you. You want to be able to pick the right problem to work on. If you don't pick the right problem to work, the right problems to work on, problems will come to you no matter what. Okay. Anything else? Any other questions? So we started around 10:30. So right now it's 12:14, almost 15. So about 1 hour, 45 minutes. So if you guys don't have any more questions, we'll finish the session today. So next session, we're gonna talk about hiring. So if you guys have any questions, you can talk about it in the group. We can discuss it so everybody can learn together. And also any tiny progress, you gotta say in the group. The reason I post the 10 listing, 10 week status on TikTok is because I want to make it public so that, you know, it keeps myself focused. That's what you wanted to do too. You do not want to keep silent. So I don't want to talk about did I go to listing? Did I call the seller? Did I get an appointment? Did I go to listing appointment, but they don't sign? I don't want to say it because if I go to listing appointment, if they don't sign, it's gonna make me look stupid. Don't think like that. Keep everything out in open. Whatever little progress you have, share. Oh, I got an appointment today. I went to listing presentation today. I went to listing presentation today, but the seller didn't sign. Talk about it. So then we can figure out, you know, together in a group, like how can you improve? Or what can you do differently to make sure you don't make the same mistake next time? You want to make it public. So when you make it public, you're gonna grow much faster. Just don't try to do it on your own, like in a private. You know what I mean? Okay, so that's it then. So right now it's 12:16. So we're gonna next Wednesday we're gonna talk about hiring, and during the week try to take baby step. You know, try to refocus every day. Okay. If nothing else, we're gonna close the meeting. Okay. Somebody, let me see. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you, Jean. Okay, so that's it. We're gonna. If you have any other question, any feedback, feel free to talk in the group. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
You stop.